And good morning, everyone, and welcome to the CalVet Emergency Preparedness Home Protection webinar. My name is Kirk Eller. I am a training coordinator in Veteran Services in the CalTAP unit. We have a really good emergency preparedness webinar for you this morning. We're going to go over some of the CalVet, how CalVet can assist you and help you prepare for emergencies, as well as in case there is a disaster or an emergency, how we can assist you afterwards. We're going to go over some of your CalTAP benefits and what CalVet can provide for you briefly. And then we have Brad Pedersen here, who is our home loan specialist, and he's going to talk about the CalVet home loan and the benefits of having that home loan during a time of an emergency. So if you're not familiar with the Zoom function, we are going to use the Q&A tab on your toolbar for the question and answer portion at the end of this webinar. We will have my colleague Cherie Nuez will be putting some information in the chat as well, so please open up the chat dialog box and the Q&A tab, and then you can get some of the resources she's going to post in the chat. And then if you have any questions, please direct them and open them in the Q&A tab, and we can address them either as the webinar is being conducted or afterwards, okay? And then we also ask that you will please fill out a survey at the end and give us some feedback on this webinar. So with that, I'm going to move forward quickly and go through our CalTAP overview, which your program for CalTAP. I'm going to briefly touch on some of your California benefits, how to navigate the website briefly, and then get into our main topic of emergency preparedness. So CalTAP was conducted to provide information on how to connect veterans of your earned benefits, and as they change over time, we want to stay connected with you. We do that with our five pathways: core curriculum, education, employment, and entrepreneurship. And there is a fifth pathway for service providers. You can access this as our resource book. All the information is that we're going to conduct on this CalTAP is in this book. My colleague Cherie is going to put the resource book in the chat feature as well. There's going to be a link to access this, and also a PDF copy will be downloaded. You can download to your electronic device. This is the CalVet website. This is where you would go and access your benefits or to contact us. It's calvet.ca.gov. This is the CalTAP portal. The CalTAP portal has each one of the pathways listed here. And real briefly, we're going to go through the core curriculum where your California specific benefits are located. Once you click on each one of these pathways, you're going to see that there's self-paced modules in each one for the respective topic that you're looking at. This module has core curriculum. The California specific benefits are actually under module 5. So we want to briefly go over what your California benefits are. We have a college tuition fee waiver for dependents. This is probably one of our most popular benefits that we provide. If you have a service-connected disability for the veteran of 0 to 100%, your dependents can actually have their tuition waived at any California state-funded school. You can go to our website, or you can wait to the end and ask us questions about this, and we can go into detail on what the eligibility requirements are for each one of these plans available. There's also a veteran designation on your driver's license. It's very popular, and most of this would be accessed through your county veteran service office. To verify your eligibility as a veteran, they will provide you with a form of VSD 001 that you would take to the DMV with your application for your designation to be put on your driver's license. The same with the motor vehicle registration fee waiver. If you are a veteran that has a service-connected disability rating of 100%, with mobility, your registration for one of your vehicles will be waived, but you would go through your county veteran service office to have that eligibility verified. Also, reduced fishing and hunting license if you have a service-connected disability rating of 50% or greater, and also the no-cost state park pass or the distinguished veteran pass of 50% or greater through the VA. For a disabled veteran property tax and the business tax exemption, you would need to contact your local county where you reside and where you pay your taxes, because each county has a different exemption based on the county that you reside in. These are our CalVet divisions. Vet Services is where I work in the CalTAP unit. Brad Pedersen is going to be speaking next with the Home Loans Division. We also have a Women Veterans Division, which provide advocacy and outreach for specifically to women veterans, and also the minority and underrepresented veterans. They are now currently working on the unnaturalized veterans and providing assistance for naturalization services. We have our Homes Division for long-term care, and there's 8 veteran homes throughout the state of California to provide our aging veterans excellent care in different levels, whether it's independent living, skilled nursing facility, or geriatric or memory care units. We also have 3 cemeteries through the state of California. One of them is attached to our Yountville Veterans Home. You would need to be a resident of the Yountville Veteran Home to be interned in that cemetery. There's another one, another cemetery in Seaside, California, over by Monterey. And there's a third one in Igo up by the Veterans Home in Redding. And they're currently under construction, the 4th Veterans Home in Southern California down in the Lake Forest area by El Toro. So this is how CalTAP wants to stay connected with you. We have our social media QR codes to the right, including a YouTube channel where we have posted webinars of our recorded previous webinars. But we also ask that you could provide a non-DoD email to CalTAP so that we can contact you with some information about upcoming webinars. And you can also register for My CalVet on our homepage. You can do the social media. You can attend webinars like that, like today. And then you can also fill out our survey with the link, and the QR code is provided here. We do take your feedback on our surveys very seriously. So we use that information to provide continued improvement on these webinars to provide the content that you're looking for. This is where you would register for My CalVet on our homepage. Just click the register button and fill out the information, and continue on with the email and verify your email, and we will be able to send you some information on our upcoming webinars and our newsletter. This is a picture, a snapshot of what our newsletter will look like to receive information from our Deputy Secretary of Veteran Services. Our topic of the month, as well as our webinars of the month, will be listed there, and you can actually register directly from those links that take you to our Eventbrite page. The VA's website is also very popular, and you should know how to access that. You would receive information on healthcare, disability or benefits, as well as education, getting your records. And you would also now sign into My VA so that you can manage those benefits. This is my contact information. My email is listed there. Our 800 number, we do value calling because we have real people actually answer the phone. So you can actually call this 800 number, and a Veteran Services representative will actually assist you in person. If not, leave a message and we will contact you back. And then I'm going to move this over to our colleague in the Home Loans Division. His name is Mr. Brad Pedersen, and he's going to give you an overview of how the Home Loans Division can help you in a time of an emergency and preparedness. Thank you, Brad, for joining us.
Hi, Kirk. Thanks very much. Good morning, everyone. I'm up here at Beale Air Force Base, and it's absolutely gorgeous this morning when I drove in. I'm understanding it's heating up outside, but I'm happy to be here and talk to you a moment. I have found that if I start my conversation with people and tell you the history of CalVet Home Loans, everything else sort of makes more sense. So I want to give you a 1-minute history lesson. Basically, the year was 1921. And what was happening in 1921 is our service members were all coming home from World War I. Now, the state of California, the population of California, the government of California at that time, they were so excited to greet these service members. They were very patriotic. And they kind of looked at the demographics of the people coming home, and they said, what could we do to just say thank you? And so after reviewing that, they realized there was a need, and they started the California Farm and Home Loan Program to help our veterans get into homes. Next slide, please, Sherry. Now, if you fast forward to about 1943, that's when my division became one of the branches of the California Department of Veterans Affairs. And what I love actually is, even today, if I were to take you up to our old building across from the Capitol building, on the second floor, it still to this day says Farm and Home Loan. Now, our name is actually Calvet Home Loans, but I love that that sign's still there because it says a couple of things. One, we've been around for over 100 years. We kind of understand the needs of our veterans. And today, this morning, I was teaching a class and somebody asked me about the definition veteran. And I realized we use that term a lot. It's actually, to the Home Loans Department, that's currently active duty, very likely can apply for a home loan. So I don't want to leave anyone out or make that a misunderstanding. I think it's important to understand that Calvet is trying to support our veterans across the field anywhere that they need help. And the home loan program is one of those things that they reached out and they said, let's do this. Now, what's unique about the Calvet home loan program is it's just not one type of loan. Most people tend to think there's only a choice between a VA or a Calvet loan, but that's not really true. As I mentioned, we have farm loans and we have home loans. We also have construction loans, we have rehab loans, we have low-income housing loans, we have refinance loans. We have all kinds of different programs to help veterans over the ages that we've come up with. As the needs change, we talk to them. One thing I love about the Calvet home loan is when I got involved here about 8 years ago, I looked at the program and I talked to my superiors and I said, so the way I'm interpreting this is as long as I'm helping veterans get into a home, I'm doing my job. And they said, that's correct. And I said, so then could I tell them about other programs that I think are valuable that may not be through Calvet, but through another lender or another institution? And they said, absolutely. So I always open up my audience. You can give my name and my email out and my phone number out to anyone, anywhere that's having some difficulties getting a veteran-related loan. A lot of times it's a very small question that I'm able to help very quickly, and I don't mind taking those calls. So the number one question that I always get is people say, Brad, what's the difference between the VA home loan and the Calvet home loan? Or if we're chatting for a little bit, they might just be honest and go, well, which is better, the VA loan or the Calvet loan? And I've answered this so many times that I've come up with sort of my pat answer that I kind of tell everybody. And I'd like to teach it to you because I really need help getting this information out. Here's what I do. I hold up a hand and I say, look, when we're talking about the federal VA home loan, it's important that you understand federal VA doesn't actually loan the money. What federal VA does is they issue a loan guarantee. Now, what that is it's sort of like an insurance policy that they'll give to any lender in any city or county who wants to make a federally guaranteed VA home loan. And I want to be clear, I don't want to be misunderstood. I love the federal VA. It is a fantastic loan program, and every vet should know about that program. It should be a part of what I call your toolbox for home ownership or refinancing for the rest of your lives. You should always look at that benefit and see how it could help you. Now, with that being said, who's Calvet? Well, I gave you the 1-minute history. Calvet is the state of California doing this very unique thing. They're acting as a lender for the benefit of veterans. And because of that, we can do some unique things that no one else can do. And one of them that I think is very important to understand is only Calvet can do this. We can take your federal VA home loan benefit, we can actually fund it through the state of California, Calvet, and you end up getting a Calvet/VA home loan. You get the state benefits and the federal benefits all put into one loan. It's super flexible and powerful when we're able to do that. Next slide, please. So what does that mean, though? What's that flexibility? What are you talking about, Brad? Well, There's lots of things that we do that are unique. I don't have a lot of time to talk about it today, but I'm going to talk about how we underwrite, because I think that affects most people. You see, we manually underwrite every single loan. A human being looks at your application, a human being chats with you, and they help make that decision. If you were to make a loan application at, let's call it the bank on the corner today, they most likely will hand you an 8-page loan application, which is called a 1003 loan application. You'll fill that 8-page form out, you'll hand it back to the lender, and they'll type it into the computer system. At the end of typing it all in, they'll hit enter, and then that computer will run that application through a series of checks and reviews. And at the end, the computer issues something commonly called a desktop underwriting decision. Now, one of the ways I usually know a veteran's gone through this and not been successful is I get the phone call and they'll say, hey, Brad, what's your minimum FICO score? I get to tell them we don't have a minimum FICO. We don't. You see, we approach this differently. We manually underwrite. So a real human being is going to open up your loan application. They're going to open up your credit report. They're going to see the FICO scores. It's very prominent on the credit report, but that's not going to change their mind or limit you. They're going to look at how you've actually handled making payments. You see, I think everybody at some time in their life runs into some kind of a wall. Something came up in front of you, right? And so they'll ask you, they'll say, look, it looks like 3 years ago, something happened in your life. What happened? Oh, I lost my job, broke my leg. I was in the hospital. I got a divorce. You see, these things happen to everybody. I'm not so concerned that you had a wall come up and that you hit it. What I want to know is what you do afterwards. Did you get up over the wall? Are you running again? We want to see that you're making your consumer credit payments on time. If I can see 12 months, all consumer payments made on time, even with a low FICO score, I often would say that's good credit. That's good enough for us. Usually, if I see 24 months of the payments on time, I'll say that's excellent credit. It's not so important what the FICO score is to us. It's how you're actually showing your fiscal responsibility. Are you making your payments? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Calvet also does some unique things in the realm of having had a short sale or a foreclosure, or maybe right now, a lot of people have a great interest rate on their VA home loan, and they're going, I don't really want to sell this, 2.5% loan. I want to keep this property and maybe rent it out. Is there anything I can do? All three of those fall into the same category, really. What it is that loan guarantee with federal VA, that insurance policy I talked about. You see, part of it was either lost, where they paid out on your behalf for the short sale or the foreclosure, where they actually paid out to a lender the loss, or part of it's actively in use, and that would be maybe a rental property that you're renting, or maybe it's your current residence that you're wanting to depart and maybe rent out and go buy another property. Either way, the math comes out pretty much the same way. There's a strange math, and at the end of it, you may have what I call a partial entitlement, a partial remainder, a partial VA home loan that you can go get again with zero down payment. The way this would work on the bank on the corner in general is you would give them that information. They'd pull your certificate of eligibility entitlement. They'll see the number on there of active use, lost in the short sale or lost in the foreclosure. And then they'll do this weird math. And at the end of it, they might make a statement like this to you. They'll say, well, based on your remaining partial entitlement, it looks like if you qualify, you could get a VA loan with zero down up to, let's say, $400,000 for round number. And almost always my veteran or active duty person would say at that moment, well, we were hoping for $500,000. Is there anything you can do for me? And they have a good answer. They'll just say, look, the differential between 400,000 and 500,000, just that differential, we need 25% down payment. So that would be a $25,000 down payment on that $500,000 purchase, which isn't bad financing. It's just not what my veteran was usually hoping for. And that's why I love what we do, because we open this up, we manually underwrite it, we ask ourselves this question: are we okay? Are they going to make their payments? If they default, are we going to be okay? We're going to apply this thing called common sense. We're going to look at it and try to figure out that should we make this loan. Now, many times in that exact scenario I laid out, we will go ahead and say, you know what, let's stand in the gap for this veteran. Let's issue a $500,000 zero down payment loan with this partial entitlement, and we'll take the risk on. Now, I should say sometimes we can't do it. I mean, maybe that partial entitlement figure was 300,000 and they want to borrow $1 million. Maybe we can't stretch that much. But even in that case, we typically will tend to look at it and not ask for the 25% down. We'll ask for less. Maybe we'll say, give us 10 or 15% down payment and we'll do it for you. We're trying to help you get into the home any way we can. Next slide, please. How much do we loan? Well, these numbers kind of blow me away because I've been around a while. We'll actually go as high as $1,361,675 with zero down payment if you qualify. I think the other number, the 907 that's on your screen, 907,750, that's actually the amount we'll loan anywhere in California if you qualify. So you can go to the least expensive place you can think of in California, and if you qualify, you could get a loan for up to $907,750 with zero down payment. Next slide, please. By the way, we don't call those jumbos. That's what CalVet does. I like to throw a letter in that kind of shows us helping a veteran, that explains in maybe a way that I'm not doing it right, of what we try to do. This is an actual letter from somebody that is very similar to many of the letters and many of the requests we're getting right now with the marketplace that we're in. This person's loan was pre-approved. Everything looked fine. This was a chain of one would close, then another would close, then another would close. And as they were getting ready to close, the lender reran it through that system I talked about and could not get an approval. They didn't know what to do. I think they said they were devastated in the email. But someone said to them, before you give up, why don't you call CalVet? Now, they sent this over to us. Lisa Walker, one of our loan officers, opened it up, manually underwrote it, saw that this was a good loan indeed, and was able to overcome whatever the computer couldn't see, and was able to fund that loan in 14 days and close this loan. Now, we're taking care of lots of people like this right now. If you know someone who's stressing over a refinance or a sale or some problem they've had, you're welcome to give them my name and number, and I'll try to help them. Next slide, please. So there's lots of benefits to buying a loan, your home with a loan through CalVet. Number one, we do all of it. You know, we basically will underwrite it, we'll process it, we'll fund it, and we'll service you for the full 30 years. You'll always be under the CalVet umbrella, which is kind of important. You see, CalVet is this group of veteran services all working together for a goal. When one of our veterans ends up in problems with making payments, we know all the people who might be able to help them. We have maintained one of the very lowest cancellation foreclosure rates in the entire nation because of that, I think. Most of our veterans are well taken care of and don't want to ever leave us. As a matter of fact, many people at the end of their loan period, when they're getting ready to pay off, will call up and say, I don't want to lose the insurance. What can I do? And they'll typically take out a $5,000 or a $10,000 home improvement loan so they can retain the insurance. Now, why would they want that insurance? Well, the insurance, and I always have to say this, you can only have the CalVet insurance if you funded your loan through CalVet. So if you have a loan with another lender or a VA loan with another lender, you're doing good. You just can't switch to our insurance. You can only get that when it starts with us. And the reason you'd probably want that insurance is it's sort of an old-fashioned policy currently, and I expect this to have to go up because we've had all these major insurance companies pull out of California. I think the cost of insurance is going to go up in the state. I'm not an insurance expert, but it sure seems likely. But currently, Calvet is amazing. You see, our deductible is $250 for the hazard insurance. The deductible for fire insurance is $250. The deductible for flood insurance is $500. And the deductible for earthquake insurance is unheard of. It's 500 or 5%. Now, you're going to get that insurance if you're funding through Calvet on a home loan purchase. And it's a discounted policy because we get them all together for everyone. It's fantastic. Now, I thought that was pretty amazing, just there and stop. And then a few years back, we had that terrible disaster up in Paradise, California, where all those homes were burnt overnight. And the whole town woke up to this new reality. You see, the night before, everybody had plenty of insurance. They weren't concerned. Everything was fine. And they woke up and the cost of building and materials and labor tripled, literally tripled. And most of the people found out that they were underinsured to build in the current new marketplace. Many of the homes have not been rebuilt. They're still sitting there waiting, trying to figure out how we're going to do this. That didn't happen to the 26 homes that we lost in that fire. They were all rebuilt for $250 because we have buried in that policy a clause, full replacement cost guarantee. So they were able to get their homes rebuilt for that $250 deductible. It's unbelievable insurance. Again, honestly, I think we're going to probably see those premiums go up or those deductibles come up. I don't see how they can keep it where it's at. But currently I don't know if anybody could beat it. It's really great insurance. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. There's my picture of the guys going over the wall. So these are actual emails. I thought maybe this would explain, again, better than I can. So this is an actual email from May 12th of 2022. And this was somebody called the Home Protection Unit, our insurance, and said, hey, there's a big fire in Orange County. Is there any veterans? Do we have anybody nearby? Someone was concerned. Lisa Walker from our Home Protection, from our loan officer, was calling the Home Protection. Next slide, please. So the insurance company said, yes, we actually have already checked. One of the veterans was evacuated yesterday at 5 p.m. Number two, they were also not evacuated, but were on standby. You see, Calvet already knew. Next slide, please. What Calvet Insurance does is during the wildfire season, the Home Protection Unit will actually look about 2 miles out. I've heard as far as 5 miles out. And they'll call the veterans in the potential path of the fire. They'll actually call them, they'll get in touch with them, and they'll say, hey, here's the things you need to do. Here's where you go. Here's the stuff to have ready. I love that they do that. Because imagine, what would you do? They know what to do, and they tell you these are the numbers and the things you need to take with you. Don't forget your medication, your phone charger, blah, blah, blah. They give them the list. They talk them through it. I think it's fantastic. They go that extra step. Next step, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So I included this example too, because I wanted to let you know what it really is like. So I found I'm not on any of these emails. I actually sort of stole these, let's call it. I saw these and I said, hey, can I grab that? This is an actual email from a veteran, August 17th, 2021 at 9:22 in the morning. Look at that time. This is in the Grizzly Flats area, the fire that went on at that time. And basically this veteran is in a center, probably evacuated from his home. He feels he's homeless now, worried. It's his wife, his 89-year-old mother, and his 4-year-old daughter. And he says, hey, I'm afraid we're homeless. I don't know what to do. Now, he sends this to the local interagency network coordinator. That is Calvin's Copart in Northern California. And he says, what do I do at 9:22 in the morning? Next slide, please. So it's 10:01 and Cole Wagner, the link for that area, reaches back to him and he says, hey, if you need a safe place to go, here's where the evacuation center is. Once you're there, reach out to the insurance provider at Calvet. Here's their phone numbers. And then he says, I've also attached some resources for you from El Dorado County. But the most important thing to me was at the bottom, he says, I'm going to call your phone after I send this and talk you through it. That's at 10:01 in the morning. Next slide, please. So now it's just like 10:17, so 16 minutes later. And this is an email from Cole to Steve, who is the manager at the home protection unit, the home insurance unit for Calvet. He says, hey, just as a heads up, I spoke to the veteran this morning. He and his family are safe. They may have lost their home. Just let me know if there's anything else I can do. Next slide, please. Now, this is the one that I love. This is from Gary Bonin. He is the loan production operations manager. He's kind of up above everybody. And he's sending an email back down to Cole and he's saying, Cole, this is what's happened. He says, Steve from the home insurance division has been in touch with the veteran this morning and Calvet will keep him housed as long as he's evacuated. If his home's a total loss, we'll be with him every step of the way. Thanks for the heads up. 11:01. So basically in 2 hours, he went from not knowing what the future was to getting that kind of reinsurance. And I just thought that was pretty special. When I first saw this, I actually kind of put myself in that veteran's shoes and I thought, wow, I would really be amazed that people came to work for me that quickly. Next slide, please. So Calvet Home Loans is trying to help our veterans. I like to help people by knowing about other programs. I'm very concerned right now about VA home loan assumability. It's a great deal if done properly. I really am concerned for people who may let their loan be assumed and not having the entitlement transferred and switched. So let me be clear. I'm all for one veteran letting another veteran assume their existing VA loan at a low interest rate. This is a great deal, great opportunity for both of them. Almost always the veteran buying is going to need to have cash to come down. But if you're able to pull that off, it's a great deal. But I'm very concerned about the potential for someone bending this and not doing it that way. A veteran giving their entitlement up to a non-veteran or something even more gray area. So if you know anyone ever going through this situation and wants to discuss it, even though this has nothing to do with Calvet Home Loans, we will not be involved in any way. I would be happy to chat with them and send them some information from federal VA on how to do it properly to make sure our veterans are taken care of. We all need to look out for each other. And I think that's sort of my message. In an emergency, you are the trained experts. If you look up and down the block you live on, most likely it's going to be those veterans who have some understanding of how to handle an emergency situation. We just all need to be kind and kind of look out for each other. I think that's super important from the beginning. I know they're going to talk a little bit about opportunities for you to get training and whatnot after this, but I want to mention that if you know anybody who's struggling in any way, making payments on their home loan, trying to refinance, not sure if they should, trying to purchase a home and running into problems, running into interest rate jacks. Oh my goodness. We haven't changed our interest rate since May. We have a pretty good interest rate. I'm all about service, but our interest rate's pretty awesome right now. I just want veterans to get the best shape. So you're welcome to give them my name and number. I think I've talked too long, but I really appreciate you letting me come on and talk about all this. Thanks so much for having me today.
Thank you, Brad. Excellent information. Now we're going to move forward with Calvin Angel from our Central Coast link. And he's going to provide some information in what his roles and responsibilities are and talk about some emergency preparedness with the DRCs and the LACs. Thank you for joining us, Calvin.
Great. Thanks for having me. And thanks, Brad. Brad always provides some really great information. I've been listening to him over the years, and it just amazes me how he still comes up with something I didn't know about. It just shows how on top of things he is with staying current. Um, so, anyways, Kurt said I am Calvin Angel. I'm the local interagency network coordinator for Central Coast, California. And I'm going to share some information with you here going forward. Next slide, please. So there are actually 8 of us throughout the state of California that do what I do. As you see the names here, um, someone in your area that represents what I do has been in an LAC or a DRC at some point. I can guarantee you that. Um, we are responsible for going into all of those, particularly the DRCs are mandated to be in those when they're implemented. If you take a look at this map here, the state of California, you can see that it's divided into 8 separate sections. I'm the center here in yellow. I know what you're thinking. There's some really nice real estate there. Boy, he's really lucky. It's great. It's very nice. I get to enjoy it on my way in and out of meetings. So yeah, but it's a beautiful place. But as I said, please take note of the names, any areas that you're living in, and feel free to contact those folks if you have any questions following my my slides here. All right, next slide, please. So links, what do we do? Well, the links, we provide outreach to service members, veterans, and their families. As it says here, referrals. A large part of what we do in our areas, and then I'll continue with this, is just developing relationships with local contacts, local service providers, and making sure that those relationships benefit you, should you be in a position where you need any form of assistance from any local services. So that's where it says or reads, make referrals and work directly with established service provider networks. That's what that pretty much is referring to. Assist with local emergencies. Certainly that does include the LACs and the DRCs, and we'll elaborate a little more on that as we proceed. And provide leadership and advocacy to local communities. And that typically comes in the forms of collaboratives or any other organization that is formed that requires that we participate, just to share our roles or our information. And in many cases, it's connecting other organizations as well that are not even in any sort of a relationship with one another. So collaboratives are a large part of that. That's where that's where you'll largely see our roles as providing leadership. Next slide, please. Connecting to benefits. So a large part of what we do also is helping veterans to connect to their benefits. Certainly that comes in a role of, for example, in the context of what we're discussing here, if you were to visit me at a LAC or DRC, is that a disaster relief center, I would be able to help you, connect you with someone who could, including myself, help you get your records back if they were somehow destroyed in the catastrophe that you're experiencing. America's Job Centers, obviously employment, we can help you typically in the LACs, and you'll see these in the slides going forward. Many of these resources are already in those centers. If unfortunately you happen to be there, and I hope none of you will ever have to visit an LAC or DRC. California state benefits, obviously I can connect you with those. Those are relatively simple. And in the slides that Kurt shared with you earlier, excuse me, earlier, you were able to see that we provide some of that information on our website. Healthcare, the VA medical centers, obviously I have contacts with those. Again, LACs, DRCs, they're sometimes on site for some of those. But again, I can certainly make those referrals for you. And I would usually make a call or just an email or whatever is necessary to help you out in that area. So again, resources are a main part of what I do. Having relationship with local agencies and organizations is what is expected, and I'm more than willing and happy to help you in making those connections. Next slide, please. So our emergency resources. So the what I've been referring throughout this discussion is the LACs, which stands for Local Assistance Centers. It's a one-stop. Yeah, let me move this over a little bit. Give me 1 second here. So it's a one-stop with local nonprofit state agencies, federal critical government services for residents who have been impacted by wildfires. Recently for us, we know that also includes floods. And due to the overwhelmingly large amount of rains that we experienced this year. Also, these centers are set up usually in a county of the disaster at a school or another community center. For me this year, I had, well, I was fortunate enough to be able to be asked to work in 4 of these centers. Unfortunately for those people in those communities, but I worked in 4 different DRCs this year, and we provided them with all of what you see here on these slides. And as we move forward, I'll elaborate a little bit more. Next slide, please. So local assistance centers. So what you will find in these, what are commonly referred to as the LAC, local assistance centers, well, records recovery, which I mentioned earlier, DMV services. There's typically a DMV, someone representing the DMV at one of these sites. Veteran healthcare access. Again, there's always someone that can help you with that as well on site. Calvet home loan support. I have worked in the past where I've actually had to provide the information that was necessary for someone to move forward into getting, as Brad referred to earlier, getting their homes, rebuilt. So that's a service that we provide in those centers as well. Housing and social services. There's always someone from housing in those sites that will help you in regards to getting either your home information made available to you, and that's for the entire community, not just for veterans, but for the entire community. Grief counseling always available, and as a veteran, our vet centers are always available. Again, that's a resource that I would be more than willing to make contact with the director for. I know the directors in my area very well, so that would just be a phone call for me to set up those services or make them aware that someone in my LAC or DRC is in need of that service, and I would certainly make that warm handoff. Again, that's my job, knowing who these people are, having relationships with them, and making sure those services are now made available for you, on a warm handoff basis. Next slide, please. How to find an LAC. As you see here, and they're making it very easy for you. So you visit your local web pages, www.fire.ca.gov, calvet. I would certainly start there. Obviously, I would say that. But also there are other resources are available for you to reach out and make contact and find out where your LACs are. What I found is that they're also referred to on the news pretty regularly. When I was working the DRCs every night, someone told me, oh, we were on. I see reporters coming in, interviewing the service providers to, talk about what they're providing and what have you. So the information is definitely out there. The communities that have these LACs or DRCs want you to know where they are. They're set up specifically to provide services for you. So whether you see it on the news, hear it on the radio, and certainly those are avenues that are utilized to put information out, or one of these sites that you see here, you'll definitely find out where an LAC is. Okay, relatively easy. Next slide, please. So as I referred to earlier, our website certainly provides you with a great deal of information, the Calvet alerts and resources. So you can go to our site and look for this information. It's great because in addition to just having the site here, next slide, please. You'll also see some information on what's available, in regards to various areas. So as you look here, you can see we pretty much cover the gamut in terms of what you might want to find in regards to information. And as I said, just about every service in an LAC is going to be something that people will generally need, but again, covered here. Whether it's insurance, the underwriters or whatever, will be in those sites. It's healthcare. It is just about every service that you'll need. All right, so take advantage of that. Next slide, please. CalOES. Okay, so again, news alerts. As I said, you're going to hear about an LIC if there's one in your area or a DRC. They will be on the news regularly. I can guarantee you that. You'll hear them on the radio. They are advertising pretty regularly. And again, I hope none of you have ever encountered this, but if you have, if you put it in the comments or something, or chat, you can certainly make reference to that and attest to that fact that there's the information is definitely out there, and we are pursuing the people that we believe will need these services. Okay, next slide. Okay, so vet center assistance. As I mentioned earlier, and this refers again back to the counseling, there's an array of services that vet centers provide, not only for the veteran, for members of the veterans' families as well. And as a matter of fact, in the last DRC that I worked in, we set up services for a veteran's mom. I was just speaking with her and had no idea that her son had actually passed away. She was actually receiving services from an organization that was sitting next to me. And I just struck up a conversation with her, and she said, "Yeah, my son's a vet." And I said, "Oh, well, you know," and I started asking her questions, and she's like, "No, he died." And you know, she started tearing up, and I said, "You know, we can probably help you if you're still dealing with that." And so I put her in touch with our local vet center, and we were able to get her some counseling. And you know, I'm sure that went the way that I was hoping it would go, which is setting up several counseling sessions for her. So the vet centers are an excellent resource. We're very fortunate here in Central Coast California, whether it be in San Luis Obispo or up in Santa Cruz. We have excellent vet centers, and I'm very proud to say that, and very confident in referring people to them. Next slide, please. So again, I made reference to this, military records, another resource that is provided for you. That isn't something that I necessarily have to do for you. You can look at this, these phone numbers and this website, the same things that I would pretty much utilize in helping you to recover your records. Obviously, you don't need to wait for a disaster to do that. If you cannot find your DD-214 or awards or what have you, that's another thing. You can also receive your medical records as well as your awards. If you don't have all of your citations in your records, you can certainly send away for those that are all here on the same site. So when you get to the site, it will ask you, what are you trying to recover? DD-214, military records, your awards. Just check all the boxes. You may as well have everything, right? So just check all the boxes. I tell everyone the same thing, you know, ask for everything that you have there in their records. That way you'll have them in your own personal records. All right. Next slide. Okay, so as I said, my contact information is here. Hopefully you took the time to get the information for someone who's in your area, one of my counterparts, my 7 counterparts. And if you didn't, you can certainly go on our website and get that information, and or send me your questions, and I can certainly forward those on to my counterparts. But here is my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time. Obviously, our phone number is here as well. So, you know, any questions you may have, maybe not at this moment, but something in the future, again, reach out to us. We're more than willing to help. And again, I hope none of you actually have to utilize any of those services at the LIC or DRC. I hope your lives are never affected in that way. But at least know going forward that with confidence that if you do find yourselves there, your services, your needs will definitely be met. All right. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Calvin. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sheree, or good morning, should I say, fast forwarding through here through the day. But I just want to acknowledge first and foremost and say thank you to Calvin and Brad for providing all the great information and resources. I do have a few slides that I'm going to review about emergency preparedness. So if you can go next slide, Kirk. Thank you. So I just want to let you know that last week we actually had the opportunity to partner with Cal OES for a great webinar for disaster preparedness. It actually will be uploaded to our YouTube shortly, and also in our archives. So we're going to take a brief moment to re-review that information because it was such great content, as it best suits the subject matter for today. So as you can see there, know what natural or human caused hazards that affect your area. California is so rich and diverse with our terrain, that so many things could be subjected to your property. Contact your city or county Office of Emergency Services to be prepared, especially if there's any kind of inclement weather approaching, that you're made aware of that. There's actually 2 great resources, and I actually took the time to utilize them to see for myself where I'm situated here out in Folsom, how it affects. So myhazards.caloes.ca.gov, and then also a FEMA website for flood check. You can actually input your address and see what your property or where you're located, or even a loved one for that matter, how it might be affecting you or their property. Also, wherever everyone might be tuning in today, a tsunami zone or a flood zone, know how water is going to affect your property. Next slide, please. Alerts and warnings. So quick thing is that there are great opportunities for you to receive warnings of what's going on within California. We have the calalerts.org /sign up. It will provide you on a county basis where you might be located, with what might be coming up and how to access resources for your county. There's also the earthquake warning app, sponsored by, it's a conjunction with Berkeley, Cal OES, and USGS, as far as being able to notify those who have the app of earthquakes that are about to happen or have happened, and what to do in that case of emergency. Next slide, please. So this is a really big one that I want to be able to take some time to go through, which is property preparedness, which is essentially what we all are gathered here today about, is create a defensible space and how to protect your home in the event of dangers. So first and foremost, keep your gutters clean and roofs clear of leaves and debris. And if you need assistance with that, there's a lot of great services out there in which you can hire someone to do that. Wouldn't want you to get hurt, but make sure that you get that cleared off. Maintain a 5-foot non-combustible zone around your home and or deck space. Break up fuel by creating space between plants and between the ground and branches of trees. Of course, that's naturally during those high fire or summer or high heat times. Mow grass with a height of 4 inches. Keep mulch away from the house, as bark mulch helps plants retain water. It also acts as an incendiary. So I want to make sure that even during those times of heat, make sure maybe you water it down if you have them in your flower beds or anything. And then also during a wildfire, move anything burnable such as patio furniture or gas or barbecue tank 30 feet away from structures. Most importantly though, check with the Fire Safety Council. Do you have any of your local municipalities have a lot of great fire workshops as far as preparing for what we are in right now, is the thick of summertime and the heat, and how to best prepare your property for that, and or what kind of clearing services might be made available depending on your county. So make sure that you get in contact with your local guides there. Next slide, please. There's also a great preparedness guide on OES that I just want to quickly highlight. It is available in multiple languages, but most importantly, it kind of just gives you a really good guide of what to do in case of emergency, to have a go bag, to have a rally point. So in the case of emergency, you have provisions, you have contact information. You can survive for a little bit when you're, out of your home if you are just unfortunately displaced. In addition to that, there's a rally point. So say you have, a couple teenagers living at home, but they're out at work, or they're out at, say, a sporting event that they're participating in and an emergency happens. You all know where to gather in an event of an emergency, and that's where you're going to reconvene as a family and know where to get to. So in the event that, say cell phones are out or communication abilities are down, you know where to meet your loved ones and how to connect with them. Additionally, for the Cal OES Family Readiness Guide, they offer a great program for our youngsters out there. They target actually fourth graders. Though our little leaders there are able to take hold and retain all the information like a sponge, but also relay that information as well, so that they can kind of be your little helpers within the home, and they have a sense of responsibility to help out with the family as well. And it's just a way of empowering our kids to make sure that in the event of an emergency, they are prepared, which also eases into the unfortunate situation, but it also allows them to be prepared for themselves. Next slide, please. These are some great links that they provided. Also, this is all material that was shared with us last week with a representative from Cal OES. But we just felt that this was such great information to share with those attending today in regards to property protection. First and foremost, you have Listos, California, which actually provides you great information on how to be prepared on a moment's notice. Wireless emergency alerts, CAL FIRE, My Shake app, the Fire Safe Council, FEMA, and also Cal OES provides great resources here. I will be providing this slide deck at the end of the presentation for those of you who aren't able to readily capture all the links that have been shared or contact information, so rest assured there. But I do know that we have, and I know we're short on time, to go ahead, next slide, Kirk. We had some questions posed, so go ahead and invite everybody else of our presenters back on camera and on mic so that we can answer some of the questions that have been posed in the chat. And again, thank you to Calvin and Brad and Kirk for providing all the great information for today. But since I'm on right now, I'm going to go ahead and fire off the questions here. So the first one, and the bulk of them are going to come to you, Brad. First one is the percentage of veterans. What is the percentage of veterans defaulting on home loans? If you have that statistic, that is.
Okay. So traditionally, pre-COVID, I think that rate was usually running right around 2%. During the COVID, after the COVID, statistics were a little bit funny, but I think it ran around 2.5%. For the VA, and I'm talking nationwide. I think those are what, from my memory, what I can remember them being, about 2%. And after COVID, it actually went up a little bit, but stats were weird during that time.
Thank you. So the next question's coming back to you. It's, do you offer home improvement loans so the veteran doesn't have to refinance at a higher rate when taking out equity?
Okay, so couple things. Calvet does have a program where you can take out money to improve your home, but we do not have a program to take out money, just cash to go to Hawaii or something. We don't do a cash out refinance. And we only do our program on loans that we already have. So if you have a loan with Calvet, you can go to them and try to borrow money against your equity to do a home improvement, but we don't allow cash out. However, this question is a very good question, and I think that credit unions are leading the charge right now on answering this, because they have figured out that a lot of people who have maybe, let's say, a 2.5% mortgage don't want to refinance and get rid of the 2.5, but they maybe want 50 or 80 grand or something. So the credit unions seem to be the ones understanding that rates right now on taking out cash out or taking some money out. Again, I wouldn't mess with the low interest rate first. I would just get a small portion cash out second if you need to. Be careful doing that.
Thank you, Brad. The next question is, quickly, but where can veterans get that list of VA jumbo loans per city? But I probably should premise the jumbo loans per city, that actually was a Calvet home loan, I think, doc that you had up there, Brad, in regards per city.
Oh, I know what they're, yeah. If you'd like a copy of per city, you're welcome to email me and say, Brad, can you give me the loan limits for Calvet loans per county. And I'll be glad to just send you a PDF of that particular slide. But know that we'll go up to 907,000 everywhere in California. And that usually fits most people. If you're looking to go higher than that, it's usually in one of the highest cost counties, and we go up to 1,300,000. There is no VA loan limit, but the highest I've heard people going is around 2 million. And they're going to charge you extra when you get up to that.
Thank you. I do know we're at 11 o'clock, but I do have just 3 more questions, and those are the ones that we're going to take right now. And I greatly appreciate everyone for sticking with us here. The next one is, do you have to have a CalVet loan in order to have the insurance?
Yes, unfortunately you do. That's kind of that caveat. You've got to fund through us to get that insurance.
Thank you. We had someone that wrote, "Hi, Brad. Thank you for the very informative presentation. I'm a retired vet and trying to buy a home in LA County. I'm curious to know if you're aware of any pages for vets looking to sell and offering to have another vet assume their loan. This is an amazing benefit and I think underutilized."
So I agree. I totally agree. And I think I might have even mentioned that I was at LA Air Force Base and I talked to somebody there who was thinking of trying to write an app for this. And I said, great, go for it, you know. But actually, your realtors, when they're filling the listing out, they have the ability to put the type of loan, if it's assumable, and they can also put if the seller is willing to have it assumed. Now, for me, I personally want my veterans to have it formally assumed with entitlement transferred. That would mean that the new veteran takes on the entitlement, but the realtors have that ability. It's just whether they understand the process or going through it. I actually, side note, have 3 events coming up where I'm talking to realtor groups. If you have a realtor and they don't understand the process, give them my number. I'll talk with them.
Thank you, Brad. And then also we just 2 more. What is the current CalVet loan rate?
Well, so I'm not bragging. We haven't raised our rate since May. Most of my vets are actually getting 5 5/8 or 5 3/4%, which is currently below market, I guess. We also, because most lenders are now charging 2 points, we charge 1. For those people transferring over to us and they've already gotten a credit from the seller on their contract, we have just initiated a new program where we'll allow you to buy the interest rate down 1/4% for 1 point cost. So you can get a really good rate at the moment, but hey, it could change tomorrow, and other lenders are great too. But check your rates, call me and I'll help you. That's it.
Final question. What is the average income for quote high loans? And then also APR rates.
So APR rates is basically just the cost of your loan with all of the closing costs thrown in together, then divided by the 30 years. So the APR is always going to be more than what we call the interest rate because it's the cost included and divided out. Now, I forgot the first part of the question was, what was it? What was the first part again, Sherry? Remind me. I'm
The
getting
first
old.
part was, what is the average income for the quote high
average
loans?
income. So we'll normally roughly allow your income to be equal to about 40 to 45% roughly of your income gross should equal the house payment, taxes, insurance, HOA, plus whatever your consumer debt is. If you have car payments, that all gets added into one clump, and then about 40-45% typically is what will allow you to borrow against. And that's usually a question that you probably want to do in your loan application process, because there'll be sometimes in like if you're getting VA disability, we can actually look at that and go, you're not paying taxes on that. We're going to give you a little credit because you don't have to pay taxes on it. So it's one of those things your loan officer will go into detail with you. That's it.
Great. Thank you so much, Brad. Those are all the questions. I'm going to go ahead and kick it back to Kirk for any other additional information.
I did make a note on one of the questions that you had answered previously, Cherie. Thank you. For the education fee waiver, somebody had asked previously about the tuition was waived in California for the first 2 years post-secondary, post-high school. And yes, that would be under the California Promise for formerly the BOG fee waiver. You can have your tuitions waived at community college level. So I did post the link on the CCC Apply website. You can check out the information there on how to apply for that fee waiver. Okay, so I know we are behind time here, overtime, I should say. I want to thank the guest speakers again for staying on for the Q&A. I briefly want to go over some upcoming webinars that we have for compensation and pension, partnering with Samuel Merritt University over in Oakland. Please check out this. There's our Eventbrite QR code. You can access all of our upcoming webinars and register there. And then please know that we will be staffing people at the booth at the California State Fair. So if you're going to be at the State Fair, I believe we're there on the Veterans Day, which is 7/14 through the 30th. We're there every day. Come by our booth and say hi to whoever's manning the booth for resources there. And then we would like to follow up with our survey link as well. We do take that feedback serious, and we really, really try to implement improvements to meet your needs as the veterans. So we want to constantly know what you're looking for and what kind of information and resources you'd like to access, and how we can improve our webinars to meet those needs. So please take the time to fill out the survey. And we also want to thank you all for your service. Thank you for joining us today. And please use the 800 number if you need any information immediately, or you can email us at the CalTAP web email address that's listed there. Our contact information was listed previously for all of our guest speakers if you need to reach out to them individually. So please take the time and utilize our services. Thank you again, and we'll see you soon.